Hello there friends, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today's video is sponsored by this Amazon gift card that I got for Christmas and forgot about. Today we're going to be taking it onto Amazon and finding ourselves a new body for the SCX24. This will be replacing my Chevy C10 body, and I want to find something that is a little bit more capable. At the time of purchasing, this rock buggy body from Endura was only $23 if you got it in the blue color. So that's what we went with, and now begins the one-day wait for our overnight delivery.
The next morning.
Now, I'll be honest, I might have gotten a little excited and forgot to record when the boxes did arrive. So for now, please envision a box in my hand that we are taking to a lavishly outfitted workroom. And now, first things first, we're going to need to ask permission to use the makeshift work table. May I set this here, please? It would seem as if we have been granted permission to use the makeshift work table. And after the boxes have been thoroughly inspected by management, it looks like we're approved to open them. So we're going to go ahead and start with this small one on top. I have a feeling there is going to be a drive shaft in here. Boom! Endura steel drive shaft. That's going to be going on as a okay, alright. This is going to be going on to replace a broken drive shaft that took part in this video. Let's go ahead and open this up to find our new body without disturbing the wife's purchases. And it looks like that right there is exactly what we need. Endura 34-gram rock buggy upgrade in blue, which was the cheapest at the time. Let's open this up and see what it looks like. Now, of course, this is going to be coming fully unassembled. There's no way this would fit fully assembled in a paper envelope. We've got some Endura stickers, and all of the bodywork to put together our new rock buggy. We're gonna have to do some work to get the C10 back to operable condition, so let's go ahead and get into that before we start assembling this. And while this may be a hilarious thing to play with and look at, we are trying to upgrade a stock SCX24, not whatever this monstrosity is called. So let's get to work on returning it back to factory settings. Well, I think this is assembled back to about where we need it, and I may regret having put the stock suspension back on in the original mounting points, but we will learn later on once we get into our new rock buggy shell. So let's go ahead and open this up. I have a feeling this is going to be a lot of not reading instructions and trying to get things right. There we go. So in here, instructions that we'll never look at. We have the two side pieces. That is going to be very cool. Now, this wasn't the most proportionally accurate set that I could have got, but again, $100 Amazon gift card. We're trying to build this out with only Injora parts, doing it as cheap as possible. Let's go ahead and cut to a time lapse of assembling our new rock buggy for the Axial SCX24. Now that this is looking a little more lifelike, it's time to add the finishing touches, which I really think are going to bring it together. We need to put this LED light bar right up top, and get these blue panels all around the body, which will add a little bit of color, and I think also a little bit more realism to it as we paint it, patina it, and do other stuff over time to make it more realistic. Now unfortunately, I have made a little bit of a mistake. I over-tightened the light bolt, and as you can see right there, it is cracked. So we're either gonna have to use some heat to weld those two pieces of plastic back together, or just hope it hangs on for dear life, which is probably what we'll do in the meantime. And with a little bit of finessing, we do have that light bar on, and it is adjustable to a very minute degree. It only goes up and down about, I'd say, 4 or 5 degrees. Still, a nice touch for a very cheap body. And last but not least, the blue body panels are going on. Now that we have that all put together, here is our finished product. I think the silver bolts added a lot of character to it, and I'm not very mad at the blue. I thought it was going to look a lot more cheap and plasticky, but it kind of has an electric blue vibe to it that I'm very, very pleased with. So now begins the hard part, and that is trying to make that fit on here. First things first, let's flip it around and get to work.
A very, very long time later.
When I last cut the camera, I was pretty convinced that we were about 30 to 40 minutes away from being done. That was not the case. It has now grown to be nighttime. We have switched from doing a budget Injora build to taking apart my Jeep over here and harvesting all the parts that we possibly can so that we can make this thing work.
The next day.
And after a very frustrating 5 to 6 hours, we have 2 fully completed vehicles. Just not in the sense I intended them to be completed. First up, we now have the Jeep body resting on our C10 chassis. The wheels are completely misproportionate and will need some upgrades before it's trail ready again. Next up though, we have the now fully built rock buggy, which of course is not where this video started out, but due to necessity and the steering cable of my stock C10 being far too short to complete the circuit, we had to make things work with what we had. I think this is going to be an excellent trail rig, and I'm very excited to see how it performs in contrast to when it had the Jeep body on it. The center of gravity now will be much lower, and without the shocks in the suspension, it should be able to crawl over pretty much anything. So let's go ahead and take it outside and see what it can do. Now that we've gotten our initial testing out of the way, we can get to some side-by-side shots. Now this is the exact same obstacle, but shot in two different seasons, so the pine needles are probably giving the rock buggy a little bit of an unfair advantage. Although I think the picture is still painted very clearly. The lower center of gravity and the reduced weight on the rock buggy help it float across the top, where the Jeep breaks through and then struggles to find traction, which it does find eventually, just not in the most glamorous fashion, as you will see right here. Next up, we have one of my favorite descents, which is not driven particularly well by me in either case here, but it has a nice V-shaped canyon that you have to straddle all the way down until you change directions onto a 40-ish degree decline. Keeping the wheels glued to the rocks is almost impossible here, but the rock buggy does it fantastically well, and as you will hear, makes it down to the ground without much issue. The Jeep, on the other hand, you'll hear in a second.
Fatality.
And now a few final thoughts. When I started this off, I was really hoping for these wheels and this entire chassis to fit perfectly with the rock buggy. But of course that is not what happened, and I can't say I am at all displeased with the results. This is far more capable than any rig I've ever had, and I'm very excited to see where it brings us in the future in terms of trying out new and more difficult terrain. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I'll be uploading more soon. Feel free to stick around and have yourself a wonderful day.